Hello and Aloha Pa, the Baha'i greeting once again to everyone in the planet. Time is 12:30. Today is 8th of May 2011, and I'm going to continue to explain those deeds and action that actually result in the spiritual growth, a spiritual gain, and we possess that spiritual character, which is very different from an emotion or feeling. This is a part of the personality, such as generosity or bravery or servitudes and so on. Baha'i faith is very unique in that aspect with other religions in explaining sometimes an actions or an attribute that Baha'ullah does not have a particular words for it, and it has not been distinguished in the revelations of the past as a merit or demerit point doing so. One of them, for example, he says, and it's interesting to me, in the hidden words, the Master of Universe, Baha'ullah, says, quote, "O son of dust, verily, verily I say unto thee, of all men the most negligent is he that disputeth idly and seeketh to advance himself over his brother. Say, O brethren, let deeds, not words, be your adorning." So Baha'u'llah says, such person is oblivious, negligent, the one who wants to advance himself over his brothers. Well, the entire civilization in the West is based on that. Call it free enterprise, competition, beat the others, get bigger, get better than others. It's not even necessarily particular use for you. A psychotic need that one develops, not for the sake of possessing things, just for the sake of saying to others, I'm bigger than you. Enjoying that others, they become belittled and suffer. So I wrote a few notes here for myself that I'm going to be using to take this topic. Also in the book of Certitude says, never exalt yourself over others. Baha'u'llah says that too. For example, many of us, God forbid, in the West or even in the East nowadays, we have a car already. It's a nice, simple Toyota, and we surely have money to exchange it with a Cadillac or a Jaguar, and sure enough, we go and do that. So we have friends, families, immediate friends. So they have wives, they have children. So what are you going to do? Now your friend comes with a car because he can't afford more than a Malibu or a Toyota. And now you come down here with this Mercedes or a BMW at his house. What happened? His wife is, most cases, she's going to feel jealous that, you know, you guys could afford to buy a Mercedes. And then he starts to, probably in some cases, to see that her husband has not done a good job in providing for the family. So what we do in these cases, we end up losing our friends, making them jealous, making them belittle. And of this kind of attitude finally brings the loneliness. for the bearer of this way and this behavior. Look at these actors in Hollywood. That's all they were doing, trying to get better than others, many of them. Some of them are different, like Marlon Brando, George C. Scott, or Mr. Brad Pitt or George Clooney. They like to share it with others. Or Sean Penn. But essentially, this is the man. This is the way they go. Now, they're so big that the whole world knows them. They can't go and have a coffee. They have to actually put a makeup on their face, glass, and this and that in order to be able to walk in the community. They have put themselves into prison. Because now everyone knows, oh, this is Tom Cruise. Or I don't know, this is that guy. This is President Bush. The poor guy cannot go have a coffee at Tim Horton. Is this the end of this advancing yourself over others? So, okay, everybody knows you now. Now try to live in people. You reduce the planet Earth to a very minute amount of people that they're like you and you can be among them. And usually they're the harshest type to be with. So, Baha'u'llah says, do not do that. Even if you have money, which is allowed to have, try not to show it off in any area. Even your knowledge, in everything. They say 3-4 people came to see Baha'u'llah in Akka. One of them, I think, was Nabil Akbar, who later on became the hand of the cause. And every time Baha'u'llah was trying to answer this individual, these seekers, Nabil would jump in and try to answer, try to say that to Baha'u'llah, basically, you may say you're a prophet of God, but I know the answer just as well, and I don't say I'm even prophet. Baha'u'llah actually kept quiet. It's written he brought tea for others. He just was happy that Nabil can talk so well. And then, after a few days, I think on the third day, the question went outside of the book. Nobody knew the answer to those. Then Baha'u'llah looked at him to see if he wants to answer. He saw that no, he doesn't have the answer. And then Baha'u'llah slowly started to answer these things. It's written, Nabil went and was banging his head to the wall that why did I think that Baha'u'llah does not know or I know more? He got a lesson that day. That the manifestation of God, whose job is guidance, spiritual guidance, does not seek to advance himself over the other people. Isn't it amazing? We have many, many examples as such in all the religions, of course, you know. So this advancement over your friends, over others in the area of material aspect or social aspect is very, very bad. They always tell me that, okay, Mr. Temori, you wasted all your life in this country, 27 years, you worked always 7 days. On the ladder, as a contractor, look at you, you have nothing. Very little. Haven't you made your millions? I tell them I wanted to, but then I had to go steal from my brother or from my sister. I had to pay no attention, to my children. I should have left my father and my mother to be without, help. I couldn't do that. And he says, well, your parents are here. I thought they're not in Canada. I said, all the people that you see around, they're my fathers and they're older than me. And they're my mother. And the rest of you are my brothers. Children are my children. I see it this way. I can't. That's not possible. Or I have to tax evade against the government who's spending the money for the poor, for welfare. How could I do that and call myself a Baha'i? See, it's not possible, I told him. Otherwise I would have. But then my time also was expensive. I had to learn other things. God did not give me that much of a capacity to be both rich and also knowledgeable and service mankind in this way. So I always said this kind of attitude, it creates a lot of bad attributes in people. You know, the person who's seeking to advance, he perhaps become arrogant. He should also be cruel, because she has to enjoy suffering of others, because people, you know, feel jealous. It's basically had a psychological sickness to me as a root of it. The base root for this, it would be a sadistic individual who likes the others to suffer. You know, it's like he doesn't need another car, but he just gets a bigger. Doesn't need a house, he gets a bigger. All these Arabs and sheiks in the Persian Gulf, that's all they do, advancing. This house is us. So they made a rule that nobody can build a house bigger than the king. The guy even has it. The king says, no, you can't. I don't have the money to do it, but you can't. And Mr. Bill Gates, the American guy, who literally has billions and billions of dollars, he was apologizing in TV. I saw him at CNN talking to interview he had with King, Mr. King, Larry King, and he was apologizing for building a house. I don't know, a few $100 million probably worth, compared to his money. That would be 50 cents. So something to learn from him, eh? This advancing yourself over others material is really bad. We should not. But in the area of a spiritual area is different. And the Baha'i faith not only is allowed to be bigger spiritually, but in fact recommended. Except you have to know what spiritual value is. This is very important. A lot of people, they go read all the Baha'i books or other religious books, scientific book. Surely they feel more spiritual than others. Wrong. What about the guy who's blind, can't read? The other guy who's just have certain sickness, he can see good, he's deaf, he's dumb. He can't read, doesn't have knowledge. Don't you think if reading the books and having knowledge about the Baha'i faith makes you spiritual, what about that guy who can't read it? What about the other guy in some place that has no money to eat food, never mind buy a book? So if that's the case, there's no fairness even